Alright, welcome back to the Django deployment with Docker on a DigitalOcean host series. We are going to do some more changes before we're gonna do the DigitalOcean stuff. Mainly, we're gonna have to do the settings file a little bit with Django, because the default setting of the Django settings file makes your application not good for production, or maybe insecure for production. This is very well documented on the deployment checklist of the Django project, which I've opened up here. Essentially, we need to change the secret key setting and the debug setting. Also, we should set allowed hosts and maybe database, yada yada yada, but mainly debug and secret key. Alright, there's one thing I like to do before I modify this, and like some people swear that you should use environment files. I'm against these environment files because they make your application, I don't know, they make stuff that I don't like. I'm more like, I want to write stuff down in Python. So I'm gonna make this settings file, I'm gonna convert it into a Python package. Essentially, if you don't have PyCharm, this is a new folder with the init.py, and I'm gonna create a base py just to follow our workflow here. We have a base, a def, and a prod for the requirements. So we're gonna have a base, prod py, and a def py settings file. From init.py, this is where it's copied all the settings file. We're gonna cut and copy into base py. That base py basically gives us that stuff. We're gonna do we're gonna go to def py. We're gonna say from tickets.settings.base import everything. In here we're gonna say this is our secret key for def. In the base py, however, we're gonna just leave this secret key empty, and we're gonna set debug to false, so we cannot somehow make debug true in any app, and we're gonna have the rest like is fairly standard. I'm gonna remove the static root here too, because that's not for the base py. Also in the production py, we're gonna say from tickets.settings.base import everything. We're gonna make sure again that debug is false just in case. We're gonna set the static root and static URL. We're gonna be very verbose here about what we're doing, because we wanna make sure it's set. Like if somebody changes static URL in our base py, it should not screw with our setup in here. And the same is basically true for def, but for def we're a little bit more relaxed. We just want to make sure debug is set and the secret key is set. Yeah, speaking of secret key, we want to make sure we have a secret key that's fairly SC code and has some characters in it. It's just a random code. There's better ways to generate these. And that should be it for production setup for now. Oh yeah, we need the allowed host setting. We'll see that in a moment. Okay, we need to change some things although now, because we have the settings file here. We need to open the whiskey py file. We need to specify our default settings file, which is going to be tickets.settings.def, and the same is true for manage py. It's going to be tickets.settings.def. And if I say docker compose up now, it should start the development server of Django with our def py settings file. But it should. Let's just double check. That one might not work because that's the nginx URL, but this one works. Great. So if I stop this and I'm gonna start the production YAML or the prod YAML that we have down here. Come on. So we're gonna say docker compose -f prod YAML up. And this should also start, but it should start with production YAML now. Okay, that's the gunicorn server, hence the image is not delivered on the left side. Let's go to the nginx server, and the image is delivered and nginx is working, and this one should now really just be the what am I going to say, the instance where we have debug disabled and a separate secret key setting. Although no, that is not true actually, this is wrong. We have tickets.settings.def in here in our manage py and whiskey py. We need to override the Django settings module in our prod YAML for the Python service. This is what we're gonna just do here. We're gonna say where am I? Here am I. We're gonna say environment double quote, and we're gonna say Django settings file is tickets.settings.prod, and we're gonna docker compose up, and we should see that this is working by actually not being able to access the site because we changed the secret key. This means our session should have been invalidated. Good enough. We cannot access anything anymore. That's not what we wanted. Did we kill something with that setting? Oh, we might have. This is stupid. We have an allowed hosts setting here. We need to make sure this thing is in the allowed hosts, or is it maybe this? It should not be the HTTP. Also, this is now not a server for playing around with. You need to restart the server if you change the code. Let's see what allowed host should look like. I'm not sure if it's just the host name. Might as well be just the host name. Yeah, looks like it. And we're not logged in, so that is the thing I wanted to see. Also, just one thing. Why did we get the 400 bad request? Essentially, the Django server just said, go away, you're not allowed to access the site, because this was not on the allowed host. This is an issue, kind of. Because you want to see the log message and what is going on, and right now you're not seeing any log messages whatsoever here. This is something we need to address at a later point in time. We're going to add some logging. But for the time being, if you really require some logs for that, basically you could go ahead. Well, I mean, you could just do this. Set debug to true. I'm going to delete this. I'm gonna just comment this one out. And we should now get a message. No, we're not getting a message. You apparently allowed hosts is okay when we're going from here. Alright. This is stupid. We need some logging. We need a basic logging configuration. Gonna add that to Django basic logging. And we want logging for 1.11. Come on, give me some logging config. There we go, that's the logging configuration for the Django settings file. And we just want to set a logging configuration in our prod YAML. We're gonna log to... This is, do we have a current working directory? Yeah, we have the base there. We're gonna log, this is not good, but it was the path.join base there and debug log. This is where we're gonna log to. We're gonna set debug to false now. And docker compose prod YAML up. It's running. If we access the site now, we should get a bad request. No. Oh, because I added this to allowed hosts. Working by example. All right. This did create a debug log here, by the way, so this seems to be working. There we go, bad request, debug log, and there we have it, invalid HTTP host header. You may need to add blah 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 to allowed hosts. Okay, and you know what? This logging configuration, we're not gonna do it. We're gonna leave it in production. We're gonna put this one into our base PY because logging is good. Logging is important. This is our logging configuration. We're gonna log things into debug.log, but we're gonna add debug.log to our gitignore in a second. But this way we have some basic logging. This is important. Okie dokie. We are good to go for now. Just one more thing. This is our example configuration that we're gonna put on our server. However, this file, prod.python, we don't want this in our repository. Unstage. Can I just unstage? No, I cannot unstage. I thought I did. Oh, that's unstash. I thought this is in here somewhere. Okay, I'm just gonna delete, I'm gonna copy paste the code and delete prod.py and not foolishly click yes when it asks me to add it to Git. I'm sure there's a better way to do that, but this is the easiest way. So now prod.py is not added to Git, and we're gonna explicitly say app tickets settings prod.py may not be added to the Git. It is on gitignore. Let's see git status. Oh, by the way, we don't actually don't want a debug log as well. So app tickets debug log is going into gitignore 2, and we have a couple of things now. That looks good. Production settings file. All right, I'm gonna push this in a second while we're gonna do the DigitalOcean stuff. So right, we have this ready. The production PY is not in a repository. We will copy paste this manually to the server. This is basically just me trying out the production setting locally. Okay, DigitalOcean. This is the DigitalOcean dashboard or droplet page where you can just create a new droplet. From in here, you need to say which kind of droplet you want. You can just create yourself a Ubuntu droplet or a Debian droplet, whatever you want, for 64 and 32-bit apparently. However, for this tutorial, I'm recommending a one-click app, which is Docker. Don't use the Django 1.8.7 on 16.04. Actually, that's... why is it still there? There's like... this is not good. The Docker one is okay. If you really want to go into a very clean and good setup, go for the Ubuntu 16.04, or actually go for the Debian one and install Docker yourself. But for the scope of this tutorial, we're going to go with the ready-to-go Docker server on Ubuntu 16.04. You can select a size here. I don't really need much. I've tested it earlier, but I did see that like it is good to have an extra CPU. It's just a virtual CPU, but it's good to have some extra CPU in here. Doesn't cost that much, and we're gonna have it up for an hour or so. Also, I want to make sure it's somewhere close to me. I don't actually want to host in the other locations either, but that's totally up to you. And I want to make sure that it adds my private key, actually my public key, my SSH key, so I don't need to enter a password or something. I want to have one droplet, and the host name I really don't care about. And I'm going to create it. All right, this is going to be created. It takes a couple of seconds, up to a minute or something, to spool it up. And in the meantime, I'm just going to push my changes. And yes, I do see the irony in entering my username and my password manually while talking about not doing that on a DigitalOcean server. Okay, let's see. We need a terminal, and we're gonna have to be connecting to that server as soon as it's up. It's still spooling up, as you can see. Oh, there we go. This should be up. We can hover over here and copy the IP address. I'm gonna say SSH root at this server. It's not up yet. It's refusing connection. Why? Well, gonna have to wait like a minute or two before we can connect. Oh, there we go. It gives you a nice welcome message. This is Docker on Ubuntu. You can just try out and see if Docker is installed. By the way, it tells you that only SSH, HTTP, and HTTPS have been opened. Oh yeah, there we go. Docker is running. Good. Okay, what should we do now? We should add a new user. We are root. We don't want to be root. I'm gonna say add user tickets because the tickets app is what we're deploying. We're adding a password for that user. And we're gonna confirm that password. And we don't want a full name, no room number, no work phone, no home phone, no other. This information is correct. And we're going to actually, if I can, I want to copy the SSH key to my new user's SSH key so I don't need to log in. Does it have an SSH directory? No. Okay, I'll do that manually. I'm gonna SSH into that now. Tickets, I did forget to copy that. Tickets at my IP. And will now ask me for a password because I did not. Oh, for God's sake, is it really trying to connect via public key and not letting me in? Yeah, it is. Okay, we need to copy our public key. I actually wasn't quite done yet either. I did have to add this user to the Docker group. There we go, that's this command. So we're using usermod -a capital G Docker tickets. So we're adding the user tickets to the Docker group. And also I'm gonna add the user tickets to the, oh god, sudo group. And I'm gonna copy recursively the -ssh folder into home tickets ssh. Home tickets ssh. And this is all root, so I'm gonna change own this. And I should now be able to log in as tickets. Yes, I was able to log in. And I can sudo with a password. I can sudo. Haha, great. So why do we do a separate user? We don't want stuff running as root. I mean, the Docker container is running as root essentially, so it's kind of not good. But you definitely don't want to run an application as root. You don't want to log in as root to maintain the application. You want to have as many privileges as you require, but not more than that. So we have sudo if we need to do anything with the services or reboot or whatever, but we don't need root access to kind of just download the app. Speaking of downloading the app, this is gonna be done by going to GitHub. And this is the Django upgrade video. Okay. So I'm just gonna go to my GitHub repository that I don't know out of the box. Django upgrade video, there we go. Last updated 4 minutes ago. We're gonna clone it using HTTP. Git clone this one. And we gonna have to cd into that directory and git check out Docker because the Docker branch is the one we're working on. We're gonna see in the log message production settings file. This is there, great. So let's double check Docker Compose is here. We're gonna say Docker Compose -f prod.yaml build. This is gonna be taking a little while because we're gonna have to download the images, they're gonna have to be extracted, and then it's going to do the requirements thing, yada yada yada. I'm just gonna keep talking while this is going on and explain the next step to you. So once this has downloaded and extracted and built, we are going to just have to say docker compose -f prod.yaml.app, similar to what we did before. However, we're gonna be running on this public IP address. That's not quite good because this means we're gonna have to copy this IP address into the host or allowed host thingy, and we're gonna have to access the service with this IP address. And I wonder if there's like a nicer host name or something that we can do in here. Domain. No, this is not what we want. There's no PTR record. I don't think this actually has a domain name. We actually might have to use the IP address. Anyway, while we're at it, this is still running, I guess. Oh no, it's done. We can up it. Actually, no, we cannot up it. We need to go into the settings folder, and there's no prod py as promised. We're gonna have to manually add the prod py. I'm using nano. You can use vi or whatever you want, and I'm just gonna copy paste it in here. You all just saw my secret key. FYI, this is not good practice to show your secret key on public TV or something like that. Just change it while you're not streaming. I will change it definitely. And allowed hosts, this is not gonna be localhost. This is gonna be this IP address here. Good. And one more thing that just came to my mind. The prod YAML file, I have a problem here because I'm saying nginx is being hosted on port 8080 while it should be hosted on port 80. This will make a change, so I'll have to do that later in my repository. I will do that. But until then, I can just say docker compose -f prod YAML up, and I'm too lazy to type. So I'm just gonna go in history, and there we go. And it should be pulling the Postgres layer, obviously. And we're gonna wait. It's still pulling and extracting. And it is starting up. Marvelous. If everything is working, we should have the tickets app right here. Whoa, that worked. Oh yeah, one more thing. Actually, two more things. Number one, we didn't do a collect static. That's why we don't see this static file. But instead, we're going to see an error message for this thing coming from nginx. So we're going to have to shut that down. We're going to have to say docker compose -d, I think is demonize. No, how do we demonize the docker compose thing? Docker compose, maybe here? No. Let me Google that. Docker compose demonize. -d. Detach. Run containers in the background. Maybe this is not available for my Docker Compose version. Up minus. Oh, I might have to do it like this. It's good. This is a parameter of the app. Okay, so now we started the service, and that's the wrong IP. Where am I? This is the right IP. Yes. And we can interface with the service like docker ps. We see it's running. We can now say docker compose -f prod.yaml run --rm python manage py collect static. And now if I refresh the page, I should see, yay, it's working. Cool. Also, if you just want to hang out on your server and see what's going on, you can still use top. I'm going to hammer some requests to generate some load. And you should see gunicorn and Postgres. These are processes that are running. They're running within a Docker container, but you're still seeing them in here. That, by the way, just reminds me that we're not quite done yet. We do need to run migrations, which we can also do on the server in here, like this. And we can create a super user. Username, super user, no email. I'm gonna make a super secure password because you all saw my secret key, so this is really important. and kind of try to log in here. Super user, super secure password, and I was able to log in. Everything is working on that server, and it's actually quite fast. I like it. Oh yeah, I need to fill out this field. This feels very smooth and working. Cool. All right, that's it for deploying this thing to DigitalOcean. There is basically, we can double check now what's running on this server by going in here to the graph. I believe there is some kind of monitoring tool. Maybe this is what we need to do. Oh, we can enable monitoring by installing DigitalOcean agent. Yeah, okay. Not want to do that, but that gives you an opportunity to monitor your server if you really need to, want to, have to, but it's not really necessary. What's pretty cool is that we have a running server. We have it running with that user. That's fine. FYI, don't try to go to that server because I'm gonna delete this droplet again. So this IP is like nonsense in 5 minutes. Other than that, I will add a link in the video description to the GitHub repository with the latest changes. I will also add an affiliate link to DigitalOcean that you can use to sign up on DigitalOcean, and I get some cashback or something like that. You can go ahead and Google for DigitalOcean promotion codes, and you'll find some promotion codes, but like, be careful when you do that. Some of them might not work anymore, but most of them should work. And I think you get some free credit if you're a student anyway and you just want to play around and do more stuff. You can literally just spool up a couple of servers within seconds or minutes, as you've seen. Okay, that's it for today, and see you next time.